Izuru Kira. Izuru Kira, Kira Izuru, is the lieutenant of the 3rd Division in the Godai 13, formerly under Captain Jin Ikamaru and currently under Captain Rojuro Odoribashi. Izuru Kira was born into a family of lesser nobility, his parents having been dead since he was young. On the day he first entered into the Shinigami Academy, he visited his parents' grave. It is there that he met fellow student Rinji Abarai when he fell out a tree onto his parents' burial marker. Rinji was scolded by his friend, Rukia Kuchiki, for falling asleep in the tree. Upon entrance into the academy, Izuru was placed in the special accelerated class alongside Rinji and Momo Hinamori. Later that day, the students engaged in using Heido in their Kido class, with Izuru excelling over the rest of his class. However, he was only able to defend against the aggressive nature and fighting style of Rinji in their swordsmanship class. While the two were resting underneath a tree, Rinji and Izuru introduced themselves and struck up a friendship with each other. It was also on this day that 5th Division Captain Sosuke Aizen and his lieutenant, Jin Ikamaru, came to the academy to inspect the freshman class. 2 months later, the class was given leave to go to the world of the living for a training session in Kanso. The training session was to be led by 6th year student Shuhei Hisagi and 2 of his classmates, Hataru Kanazawa and Aoga. The fact that Hisagi was leading the mission caused a ruckus, which prompted Izuru to explain to Rinji why Hisagi was so famous. Izuru then noted that he himself, as that year's top student, probably had more talent than Hisagi. The various students were then placed into 3-person teams. Izuru and Rinji were placed with Momo. The class then set out for the world of the living to begin their training mission. As the training session was coming to a close, the class was surprised when a hollow attacked them and killed Kanazawa. When Aoga saw this, he went to fight the hollow, but was almost killed. Hisagi then called for all the students to fall back and run for their lives, while he held the hollow off. When Momo stopped running, Izuru asked her why, to which she responded that she didn't understand why they were fleeing. Despite Izuru and Rinji trying to reason with her, she went back to attack the hollow and save Hisagi. Realizing there was no getting through to her, Izuru and Rinji decided that they had to try and help her. Much to the surprise of Hisagi, the 3 of them appeared just in time to block the attacks of the hollow. Izuru asked for forgiveness in not following Hisagi's orders, and then congratulated Momo when she used Heido No. 31 Shikaho. But to their surprise, the small victory was cut short by the arrival of many more hollows. They were then saved by the timely arrival of Captain Sosuke Aizen and then Lieutenant Jin Ikamaru, who effortlessly took out all the hollows, while the 3 students stood amazed. After graduation, Izuru, along with Rinji and Momo, was sent to the 5th Division, where he stayed until Jin Ikamaru became captain of the 3rd Division. It is known that Izuru spent some time in the 4th Division, as noted by Shuhei, and the fact that he carries medical implements like Shinten, a trait virtually exclusive to members of the 4th Division. Appearance: Izuru has blue eyes, and, shoulder-length, blonde hair that is combed into 3 points, with 2 in the back of his head, and a 3rd comb to cover his left eye. He also wears the standard Shinigami robes, and the 3rd Division's lieutenant armband on his left arm. When he was a student at the Shinigami Academy, his hair was shorter and shaggier, with his bangs hanging just above his left eye, and he wore the standard blue uniform for the males. 17 months after Aizen's defeat, Izuru's hair is shorter. He maintains the bang of hair over his left eye, with it reaching just below his eye. After being grievously wounded by Bazbi and subsequently saved by Mayuri Kuratsuchi, Izuru retains a large hole in the right side of his chest, which is propped open by thick rods, and has altered his shihakusho so that the only part of his upper right covered by it is his right arm. His hair also goes back to its original length and style. 12 years after Yawacha's defeat, Izuru wears a modified shihakusho with a white hood lined with small black dots, as well as a smaller and less dense bang over his left eye. Personality: Izuru is a gloomy and introspective person, not easily able to socialize with others. He generally appears weak and indifferent, leading many to believe he lacks the ability to be a leader. As an officer, he does not tend to inspire confidence or boost morale the way other lieutenants do. However, Izuru is loyal to both his friends and his duties. Despite the close friendship he shares with Momo Hinamori, Izuru shows that his loyalty to his former captain knows no boundaries when he defends his captain while she is in a grief-induced rage from her own captain's apparent death. Despite this, he calls himself a monster afterwards for raising his sword against her. Izuru considers the essence of war to be despair, as exemplified by the symbol of his division, the marigold. He also hates to fight unless prompted to or given orders. However, in combat he shows ruthless determination. Izuru has shown himself remorseless with this, beheading an opponent who was pleading for mercy. His personality flaws are also assets. His introspection coupled with his tendency to worry makes him indecisive, but it also makes him sensitive to unusual behavior. His loyalty to his division inspires him to great efforts in their defense, as seen when Momo Hinamori attacks Jin Ikamaru and again when Makoto Kibun's attacks endanger other members of the 3rd Division. Izuru's current personality greatly differs from his days in the Shino Academy, where he was shown to be much happier and slightly cocky after noting that Shuhei Hisagi had failed his entrance exam twice, whereas Izuru passed at the top of his class, giving him the idea that his talent was greater. Izuru likes to write haiku, and he was also awarded for one of his pieces by Siriidii Communication, which is as follows: "The persimmon tree bears fruit. Ah, the persimmon tree bears fruit again this year." His dislike for dried persimmon, a huge difference between him and his former captain, sheds some light on the background of the poem. He likes agar agar instead. He also writes a serial novel titled, "I Want to Apologize to You." It runs in Siriidii Communication, and every new chapter begins with a haiku piece. He is also the author of Kira Izuru's Haiku Time. He is on good terms with fellow author Shuhei Hisagi. In his free time, Izuru participates in gatherings of haiku lovers. He also gives a special lecture of poetry on the Shino Academy. It is also known that he is skilled in playing cat's cradle. Equipment. Explosive bands. The band on Izuru's right arm possess explosive properties. By removing them, he can use them to produce blinding explosions that expel a large amount of smoke. Gatten, piercing/drill point, a green liquid which can knock out a target with a single drop, provided the target has weak enough spiritual energy. Powers and abilities. Expert swordsman. Izuru is shown to be highly proficient in the wielding of his Zanpakuto. Mixing his mastery of his sword's unique shape with the special ability it has, he is coldly proficient during its use and application. Expert tactician. He is highly conscious of his weaknesses and strengths, commonly devising methods which take advantage of his Zanpakuto's special ability, even in situations when the odds are against him. Kido expert. He has great talent for Kido, even back at the Shinigami Academy, and he is often seen applying Kido spells during fights. He is skilled enough to use Bakudo number 63. Seijo Sabaku, Heido number 58. Tenran, and Bakudo number 73. Tazansho without the incantation and with relative ease. Kaido, Turnway. Izuru is proficient in healing Kido due to his time spent as a member of the 4th Division. Shuinpa practitioner. Izuru is proficient in the use of Shuinpa, allowing him to keep up with at least other lieutenant-level Shinigami. His skill in Shuinpa was shown great enough to appear behind Aburama, surprising the Arankar. Healer. It was noted by Hisagi that Izuru was once part of the 4th Division, and therefore, knows healing-type Kido and technique. Though he is considerably out of practice, he is still shown able to quickly determine a person's ailments from a single glance, as shown from his quick analysis of Ranjiku's and Momo's condition after they fell against Ion and heal the otherwise fatal injuries. He has a number of medical supplies that he carries with him, supposedly from his time in the 4th. High spiritual power. Being a lieutenant of the Godai 13, Izuru boasts a high amount of spiritual energy. His Ryatsu is blue. Zanpakuto. Wabasuk, the wretched one, viz., the penitent one. Wabasuk is a simple katana with a normal rectangular tsuba, with only an omega design on the top and bottom half. Shurkai. Its Shurkai command is, raise your head, omote o ajiro, viz., show yourself. When activated, the blade loses its curve and straightens, and where a normal katana would end, Wabasuk's blade makes two 90-degree angles, forming three sides of a square, reminiscent of a hook, and has its cutting edge on the inside of the angles. Shurkai special ability. In this form, Wabasuk doubles the weight of any object it strikes. The ability can affect both inanimate objects and living beings, and is cumulative. For example, the first strike on an opponent wielding a 10-pound sword doubles the opposing sword's weight to 20 pounds. If Izuru strikes the sword a second time, the weight of the sword doubles to 40 pounds. Izuru can continue doubling the weight of his opponent's sword indefinitely. After about 8 or 9 strikes, most opponents would be unable to lift their swords and are brought down to their knees by the weight of their own weapon. Though the potential of this ability is limitless, a small number of strikes to an opponent's blade is usually all that is needed to render them immobile. Its ability makes it look like he is forcing his opponents to bow their heads in apology for a past decision, since it brings his opponents to their knees before him. With them immobile, the hook end of his blade can now show its gruesome function. Izuru can decapitate a fallen opponent by holding the square hook beneath his opponent's neck and lifting, like a reverse guillotine. He can also double the weight of his own body parts, such as his foot, allowing him to crush even massive enemies like Jigaku no Gaki with ease. Bankai, not yet achieved. Weaknesses. Zanpakuto. Range. While his Zanpakuto possesses a special ability, it is limited to close quarters combat.
If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.